Have you ever just looked around and wondered how our world got to be so, well, modern? I mean, so fast, so connected, so completely different from anything that came before it? Well, let's get into it, because the last 500 years are really the story of a radical transformation. It's the story of how we got right here. So, how did we do it? How did we go from a world that was pretty much guided by tradition and faith to, well, this, our current reality of constant, non-stop change and innovation? We're going to walk through the key events and, maybe more importantly, the key ideas that created the modern age. And we're talking about a world shaped by some seriously immense new powers. For one, the power of industry. For the first time ever, humanity got a hold of energy on a massive scale. And it completely, and I mean completely, reshaped how we all live, work, and build our societies. Then you have the power of conflict. All this new industrial and political muscle led to wars on a scale that was just unimaginable before, redrawing the map of the world not just once, but over and over again. And of course, there's the power of science, a literal explosion of knowledge that has fundamentally changed how we see everything, from the tiniest atom all the way out to the endless ocean of galaxies. But here's the really crucial point. Modern isn't just about a date on a calendar. You should think of it more like a complete software update for human civilization. It's a totally new way of seeing our place in the universe. You see, at its heart, modernity is about a belief in progress. For the first time in history, people started to see change not just as something that happens, but as a good thing, something that we as humans could actually push forward on purpose. And this was a seismic shift in how people saw the world. We moved from a place where tradition was sacred and you needed someone to connect you to the divine, to a new world that championed reason, expected constant change, and really put the individual front and center. So where did this new software come from? Well, it started with a series of intellectual movements that began to question centuries of old ideas, shifting the focus from divine answers to human reason and observation. You can kind of see how it all builds on itself. It kicks off around the 1420s with the Renaissance, when we rediscovered all this classical knowledge. That gets a turbo boost from the Age of Discovery, which literally made the world bigger. That, in turn, leads to the scientific revolution, giving us a whole new way to figure out reality. And finally, the Enlightenment, which took all that reason and applied it to society, politics, and you and me. A key motto back in the Renaissance was ad fontes, which just means back to the sources. This super simple idea to go see for yourself, to look at the original evidence instead of just trusting what someone else wrote about it, that was revolutionary. It's the granddaddy of the scientific method, and it planted the seeds for everything that came after. And the impact was just profound. Take this map from 1507. For the very first time, it shows the Americas as their own continents. Can you imagine seeing this back then? Suddenly, the world is so much bigger and more complex than anyone thought. The old books were wrong, and that opened the door for new knowledge, discovered not through faith, but just by looking. Now, these new ways of thinking, they weren't just for dusty books and university halls. Oh no, they were explosive. They were the intellectual dynamite for a whole series of revolutions that would tear down the old world and build a new one right on top of it. The American and French revolutions took these big Enlightenment ideas about rights and citizenship and made them real. They kicked out the kings and created something brand new, the nation-state, a country defined by its people, not just by its king. And that idea, for better or worse, would define politics from then on. And at the exact same time, another revolution was kicking off. The Industrial Revolution, powered by machines just like the steam engine, didn't just change how we made stuff, it changed everything. It pulled people off the farms and into massive new cities, and it created a world of mass production and unimaginable new wealth. If you want to get a sense of just how fast this change was, just think about this. It took all of human history, up until 1804, for the world's population to hit 1 billion people. The next billion? That only took 123 years. That incredible acceleration is a direct result of everything the modern era unlocked. But of course, this kind of earth-shattering change came with consequences. The incredible power that industry and new politics unlocked created a new kind of global competition, which led straight into an age of empires, catastrophic wars, and the rise of superpowers. By the 19th century, having factories and modern armies allowed European powers to dominate the planet. At its peak, the British Empire alone controlled almost a quarter of the entire world. This was globalization, all right, but it was globalization enforced by steamships and telegraph cables. And all that competition, it eventually boiled over. The 20th century saw this modern power turned against itself, leading to conflicts on a horrifying new scale. World War I shattered the old empires. World War II became the deadliest conflict in human history, period. And that was followed by a decades-long Cold War, a global stare-down between two nuclear-armed superpowers. For nearly half a century, this was the world. It was a planet split right down the middle into two armed camps, separated by what Winston Churchill famously called an Iron Curtain. This global standoff defined life for billions of people. Okay, so what does any of this have to do with us, right here, right now? Well, the forces that were unleashed over these 500 years, they didn't just stop. They kept accelerating, and they've brought us right to this moment we're in today. The intense competition of the Cold War actually had an unexpected side effect, the space race. And out of that came this picture, the blue marble, taken from Apollo 17. For the first time, it gave humanity a new perspective on itself as one single, beautiful, fragile planet. It's an unforgettable image from an era defined by incredible technological achievement. And that brings us right up to today, the information age. The digital world we're all living in is the direct descendant of all those revolutions we just talked about. The scientific, the industrial, the political. The explosion of knowledge that started with the printing press has now culminated in the computer and the internet. So that's the story. In a nutshell, the 500 years that made our world what it is today. It all started with a new way of thinking, which led to revolutions that remade society, unlocking this immense power for both creation and, destruction. And it leaves us with a really fascinating question. This entire modern project was built on the idea of constant progress. But looking around today, does that idea still hold up? Are we living at the peak of the modern age? Or are we right at the beginning of whatever comes next?